Let's hit it. Welcome, first-time listeners and returners to the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table, especially our next incredible guest. So grab your favorite deli sandwich or bagel and your favorite beverage, and let's do this together in the Sports Deli. Welcome, everyone, on World Cancer Day, on Rosa Parks Day, and National Girls and Women in Sports Day, the fourth day of Black History Month, to the Sports Deli podcast. Interestingly, if you take today, day 4 of the second month of the Gregorian calendar, February 4th, and put them together, you have the number 42. And what better way to honor the great Jackie Robinson and his number 42 by welcoming the pride of East Chicago's Washington High School, where he starred as an all-state basketball player and a star baseball player, Kenny Lofton, who, in my opinion, let me be clear, is a Hall of Famer. And just for clarification, Kenny is from East Chicago, Indiana, not Illinois, which is a 48-minute drive to Wrigley Field and 14 minutes from Gary, Indiana. There's no relevance whatsoever to Gary, Indiana. I just wanted to sing that song because I loved it as a kid, growing up in the Detroit area.
Okay.
Shout out to the 313. Let's go. Kenny earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Arizona, where he was a two-sport athlete, but that's only part of the story. The amazing part was that he was drafted in the 17th round at the time out of 75 rounds of the 1988 Major League Baseball draft by the Houston Astros, after having only played 5 games in college with only a single at bat. Truly remarkable. And for the record, nowadays there's 20 rounds versus 75 back then. But even more inspiring than that, instead of going to play minor league baseball as a senior, he stayed in school to finish his degree because he promised his grandmother, who raised him, that he would earn his degree, and that he did in studio production. He was in the minors for a few years before making his major league debut in 1991, and today you will hear the rest of the story of one of the smartest, most complete baseball players in Major League Baseball history, whose incredible 17-year career includes Hall of Fame type numbers, especially regarding intangibles like stolen bases and triples. He was born the same day as Dirty Harry, Joe Namath, who you see an autographed picture over my right shoulder, Jake Peavy, Dave Roberts, current skipper of the LA Dodgers, and the same year as Vin Diesel, Vanilla Ice, probably shouldn't admit that one, Jamie Foxx, Will Ferrell, Anderson Cooper, and Deion Sanders, who I pray to God every day wish that he would be the coach of my Detroit Lions. Even if he asked for so much money, they'd have to put him in layaway. He's coached, worked as a commentator, loves golf, owned his own production company called Film Pool, whose mission is to bring diversity to the silver screen and content that will move people and last a lifetime. He just minted his first NFT, which I'm learning about. And in layman's terms, it's a digital collectible for all of you old school people that used to collect baseball cards or stamps or coins. Check him out at centerblock.co and on Instagram at kenny.lofton. Man, I've had a lot of people in the Sports Deli podcast, man, but truly an honor to have you where everyone deserves a seat at the table, man. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, to add to that, I also started my own NFT marketplace.
Absolutely. You want to talk about that?
Marketplace called proxyme.io. So that's along with that, but it's a lot going on. I enjoy what I'm doing. And again, like you said, I'm all about diversity, trying to give back and trying to get everyone a chance to be successful in life.
Yeah, so usually I talk about those kinds of things last, but I want to talk about them first because this morning I was listening to Breakfast Over NFTs with Teddy on Clubhouse, and Monday through Friday they're in there. And these, you people that are listening to this podcast or watching it on YouTube, you have to understand something, right? We're moving in a new direction with sort of decentralized type things and the metaverse. And, you know, you have fungible things, you have non-fungible things, right? Bitcoin is fungible. Right. And NFTs are more like, you know, what Mark Cuban is into. And, you know, you open it up and you have like a highlight of something or artwork or whatever it is. Right. And so, but what I really like about listening to people in the NFT spaces, and there's people obviously trying to make money, right? That's part of the objective, and creating generational wealth and those types of things, because this is a different space and there's a lot of collaboration going on in the Black and brown community, which I love. But that's the point, is I've never seen in Clubhouse in particular, this type of collaboration across the board where people are helping each other, working together, offering free advice, wanting to be a part of the greater good. And you, of all people, understand how to be on a team in a locker room and be a part of the greater good. So talk about this NFT experience, because, you know, cannabis and NFTs, entertainment, are things that the Black and brown community are tapping into in a way that they never have before. And I find it just, I don't know much about NFTs. I'm trying to learn about it, but to talk to everyone about that, because I think it's amazing.
Well, I think the biggest thing is more for, like you said, that you have the fungible and non-fungible, but it's more of it's a digital asset. A digital asset that comes along with utilities involved. Just say you have an NFT with a card type deal, but what comes along with that is also the intriguing part. You can have a special card or a gold or silver model of that type of card, and it has utilities behind it, like you're playing golf with me, you're going to a World Series games with me. Certain things like that come along with the NFT as well. So it's more to it than just the digital asset. You know, the digital aspect of it is just one part of it, because it's a digital asset. It's almost like you going, I always try to use TMZ as a perfect example. They go out and they'll shoot a picture of someone and go out and, you know, some of their reporters, they go out and shoot pictures and they go back and take it back to their, you know, to their office. And basically that's worth something. So it's kind of like the same mindset of people putting stuff out, you know, on the marketplace, because you don't know what or who wants, you know, that picture or that photo or that asset. So you got, you know, it turns into, you know, the asset becomes a token, you know, and the token has value. So the value is worth something. So you just got to look at it that way.
That's amazing. And there's only like one, you know, in the old days, we used to collect baseball cards, you know, there was, you know, 5,000 Kenny Lofton rookie cards, but it's not like that, right? Because it's digital in terms of the code, so it can't be duplicated. So there's a safety factor in place that's different than other things.
Well, the safety factor on top of that is that if it comes from me, like you say, that code says it came from Kenny Lofton. The code ain't gonna say it came from Joe, you know, Joe Blow, you know what I mean? So it's not it come from him, it came from me, and that code will let you know where it came from me, and that also authenticates the actual card, and also we put in memorabilia as well as part of this. So all of that, part of the NFTs and part of the utility behind it, it can be very exciting for people. And again, this is the alpha moment of this NFT space, and I'm trying to get people, and like you said, people of Black and Brown to be able to start it from the ground up, because a lot of times we get it to where it's at that floor where it's too pricey. So now you have an opportunity to, when they say an investment, you buy low, sell high, you know, and that's kind of what's going on here. You start from the ground to some of these cars that, you know, some of these assets you think might be 20 or 30 bucks now, go ahead and grab it, because again, it's like an investment.
Like Bitcoin.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So what would you say would be the downsides for someone to watch out for, that someone's not reputable, or that it's, you know, not really what you're talking about?
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. But the downfall is people trying to duplicate it. And the good thing about it, that's why it has that QR code. Everything's being recorded.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like I say, it's decentralized amongst the people. I mean, that's pretty much what this is.
Why did it take so long to have these kinds of spaces, this decentralized?
Again, it's technology. So you got to understand technology is going to go in the path that it's going to go. So it's almost, I always say technology is like a tornado. You just start going. Either you're going to sit back and let it pass you by, or you're going to jump in it and just spin along with it. And that's what's going on in this NFT market. And we're going to go from there into the metaverse. So all that is going to be part of it. And people, and for me, I'm trying to get athletes to take a hold of their intellectual property, in which otherwise they wouldn't. Just like myself, you know, when we were playing, they had our intellectual property and we can do nothing about it. But now, since you're retired guys have actors, entertainers, you know, they have again, singers, music people, they have an opportunity to take hold of their intellectual property, being in this space, and me being in that situation that all of them have been in. Right. I pretty much know what they went through. I went through dealing with the company Topps, where Major League Baseball got their cut, Topps got their cut. Oh, here's what's left. Right. You know, here's what's left of your intellectual property.
Well, not only that, But back then, and even up until maybe 10 years ago, in terms of financial literacy, it wasn't that you were being educated about sponsored deals and anything else. It was just give me the autonomy to handle your account and I'll take care of it. And that's how a lot of people got bamboozled, and a lot of their pensions and everything else are gone and they're broke because they weren't taught to be financially literate. And that's where there is a shift going on. And this is just part of it.
This is a part of it. And this is the
Yeah.
way I'm trying to get people to take hold of their intellectual property without,
Absolutely.
again, like without the middleman.
Oh yeah, that's
And
that's
a lot of
amazing.
guys dealt with it, and a lot of guys understand because again, I always say you want to be a part of or jump on always say the bandwagon of somebody who's done it before.
Right,
You know,
absolutely.
I've done it before, I've been through it, and now I'm trying to show you the way to go, and this is the right way to go of what
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Amazing. And then if you sell it to me and I sell it to Dave Stewart, it still shows that it came from you.
Yes, and then but also it came from me because again, it's part of that QR code
Right.
that's attached to it, and you get, right now, just say if you had a card of mine and you bought it for $100, right? And you, like
Yeah.
you say, you sell it to Dave, and now Dave bought it from you. Me, the creator of that, or my intellectual property of that, is gone, and they can keep reselling it and keep reselling it, and nothing can happen. But in this, the way I'm going, in this NFT space,
Right.
you get money in perpetuity, forever, for life.
Forever.
So
Forever.
anytime that card is changed hands, traded, sold, you get a percentage of that forever. And that's what I'm trying to get guys to understand, because there are
Right.
people out there having cards of mine or whatever, they're selling it, reselling it, and I have no clue where it's at. But
Exactly.
having it in the blockchain,
Yep.
you have an opportunity to find out where it's going, because it's all knowledge. It's all public knowledge out there. You
Right.
can see where it's at, where it's going, who owns it, who created it, and where it's at now. So I think I like the way that is going right now in the blockchain.
Man, that is fascinating. I love that stuff. I didn't know one thing about it until Clubhouse, and I go into these rooms on crypto and NFTs, and I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna listen today. And it sucks me in, man. I keep
Every time.
listening and learning things. I listen to other things on mental health and sports and the Million Marathon, and those guys are crazy, and stuff like that about COVID. And there's a lot of other things I listen to. But crypto and NFTs are fascinating. All right, let me pivot. So let's hit the cutoff, man, here. So I do want to talk about your upbringing, because I think it's interesting. The 80s, we hadn't quite shifted into where we were in the 90s and 2000s, but baseball did have a higher representation of people of color than it does now. But I read something about you that you're a perfectionist. And so I want to ask you about that, because this is interesting to me. Because the reason I thought about this was because when the pandemic hit, as a life coach, as a professional basketball skills trainer, having coached college basketball a long time, and I consider myself a lifelong learner like you. And so I was like, I'm not going to let this thing get me down, because as well as I do, after 2 years of this pandemic, it's created a lot of new normals, not all of them good. And so I started making my bed in a way that I've never made my bed before. Like, I was just like, whatever, who cares, right? Yeah, no, it's fine. But what I realized was, and you can probably relate to this, is that even if you have a terrible day, that when you come back into that bedroom in the evening, you've done one thing for yourself that is within your control, it can be a beautiful sort of piece of art that you took pride in. And so everything is sort of built from there, right? When you wake up in the morning, the very first thing you do, whether you hit your alarm clock or not, whether you make your bed or not, how you brush your teeth, how you dental floss. And I had a sports psychologist on, Jason Ovetsky, a long while back, one of the first episodes. And he talked about this, that during this time, you have to do things that are building blocks. And so talk about whether or not that was something you developed later in life in terms of being a perfectionist or being detail oriented, because sometimes that has a negative connotation. Oh, he's a perfectionist, right? But it's more about being detail oriented, like Rafael Nadal or Kenny Lofton, and I wouldn't consider myself necessarily OCD or overly detail oriented, but it's an important aspect of being the best version of yourself every day, isn't it?
Yeah, but no, I'll say what made me that way. I don't want to get too in depth into it. I just want
Yeah.
to just say this. one little part of probably the reason why I kind of am the way I am about so much. It's not, well, I guess it is perfectionist because I always want to be good at what, whatever I do.
Yeah.
But I think the perfectionist part about it, when you're talking about making your bed, and for me, I have a pet peeve of going to bed with a dirty kitchen. I just can't. I can't wake up in the morning, come downstairs and look at the kitchen. And it's like,
same thing.
it just makes me go crazy. So, but it does.
Yeah.
So, but I just, like I said, I grew up that way because of my grandmother. My grandmother, when I was raised blind, she was blind. So everything had to be in order. Because again, being blind, you have to feel your way around where everything, and she got very frustrated when things were in order. So she knew where the rice can, the sugar, the flour can was. So when she feel her way around, she knew exactly the third can from the right is the sugar or whatever.
Wow.
So for me, I had to kind of keep things in order because that's how I was raised. So, I mean, that's probably why, but I don't want to get too deep because it gets kind of emotional, but yeah, that's the reason why.
Oh, that's so powerful. And to be honest with you and transparent, I didn't know that your grandmother was, unable to see. I didn't know that part of it. I just thought it was so inspiring that she raised you, in and of itself, and to add that layer to it. Oh God, man, does that make sense? But, when there's trauma, and I've talked about this a lot on the show as a life coach, those become our superpowers. And so now that's been part of your superpower, is because now you pay attention in a way to life. We can just make it more broad, and it helped you back then and probably now in a way that you might not have seen the world if it hadn't been for her and the way that she had to live her life.
For me, they always say you have 5 senses, and when you lose one, it makes the other senses stronger. So how I look at it, for me playing baseball, I didn't have the power, but I had the speed. So you took advantage on what you had, and you made that the best you can be. So
amazing. Talk about how it was growing up. Like, was music a big part of your life?
It was. I mean, I think music probably got bigger as I got in college more. Growing up, you heard music, and I grew up around the Jackson 5 era, so you always hear the Jackson 5s and that type of music or whatever. But my family, they always listen to music. But I don't think I got into music until I got into college of understanding music.
And so was sports like just sort of automatic in the family? Was it just something that everybody did, and you're just like, and you just happen to be super athletic, and you're just going to see where it went?
Well, my family played baseball and softball. So my uncle played college baseball, and my family, they all played the softball leagues, growing up. So that was always a thing of mine, was the ball in the bat. So it pretty much was there.
Any other lefties in the family?
Maybe 3 total in a big old family that I know of. Yeah, it's not many.
Yeah, that's interesting because, growing up a lefty is different.
Like baseball, I was for years, because I couldn't afford it, I had to use a right-handed baseball glove on my, for right-handed.
Wow, really?
I used it for being a left-hander. I switched it around. So I understood how to use a right-handed glove on my,
That's crazy. I never heard that before. That's unbelievable.
Yep.
Wow, that's fascinating. Growing up, it would be harder, but that once you got to that level, that higher level, it might be an advantage because most players are right-handed.
In baseball,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, in baseball.
Yes.
So you were very successful in basketball, and you thought that was going to be, did you think you were going to go to the NBA?
I kind of did at one point, but once I figured out the team I had with me, I knew it was going to be tough for me to even get the ball where I started with the ball. But once I passed the ball, I pretty much never got it back. So, but it was, it was okay.
Yeah. So I know this at Arizona. So tell everyone who you played with, because I want to go down that road for a second, because I want to ask you about one guy in particular and your experience there. Obviously played for a Hall of Fame coach in Lute Olson, rest in peace. But tell everyone who was on that team.
I mean, I had Sean Elliott, Steve Kerr, Tom Tobert, Judd Bushler,
all NBA players, by the way. All NBA players, by the way, for those of you listening to the show or watching the show, all of them.
Yes, Sean Rooks.
Also,
rest in peace, Sean.
Right.
So it was just a fun squad, and we had some guys. So in Jeb Bush, like I said, so once I passed the ball, we always call Tom Tober the black hole. Once you put it in there, you never got it back. So
He was a
it
beast.
was,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. Yeah, it was just fun. And we had a good group of guys, just all in all, just good-hearted guys. And I think, Luke put the team together, and he knew guys with good personalities and just good, down home people.
Okay, so I want to ask you about this because this is something that I knew about, but then I put two and two together. I'm pretty sure you were there. So you were at a game at Arizona State. I think it was your senior year. And there was a small group, I just want to be clear, at Arizona State. It was a small group of people. And so everyone knows Steve Kerr, your teammate, he's the current head coach of the Golden State Warriors. And he had a lot of walk-on opportunities coming out of high school. And Coach Olson, believed in him and saw something in him. Obviously, now we see the rest of the story. But his dad, Malcolm, which his name in and of itself I find fascinating as a white man, Malcolm Kerr was the president of American University in Washington, D.C. And he went to Beirut in 1984 and he was murdered. And when you guys were at Arizona State, a small group of people yelled PLO, which is, a reference to the Palestinians, your father's history. Why don't you join the Marines and go back to Beirut? And, Steve had to sit down for a minute and gather himself because, we've seen example after example recently and throughout time about fans crossing the line. And there's just some things you don't give a pass to. And so can you sort of talk about that with him?
Yeah. So yeah, I was a junior at the time, and it was at Arizona State, and that was our rivalry.
Yep.
And again, they did cross the line, and a lot of guys didn't appreciate that, and myself and Harvey Mason did something, but anyway, I don't want to get into that what we did, but yeah, I didn't, it's Steve, you're right, he did sit down and take a moment. He reflected a little bit. He kind of got teary-eyed or whatever, but then it went from teary-eyed to had some rage. Man, he went off that day. He was shooting the ball from every which way on the court, and it was one of the best games I've seen Steve play. The whole time I played with Steve for 3 years or whatever. It was unbelievable, but it was sad. It was sad how people can just be so cruel. Even though you're a rivalry, it's one thing is to talk about your game or whatever, but when you get personal, it happens. I've seen it happen to myself in different cities where people gotten personal and said some racial stuff to me or whatever. But again, I understand that goes on, and you have to, in a sense, you have to kind of take it. Nothing you can do about it because again, you're the small pond out there, and nothing you can do, but you just take it, and you just gotta figure out how to overcome it and how to move forward.
What did Lute say?
He just basically said, we just got to focus, and Steve was fine.
Amazing. Don't piss off Steve Kerr, people.
No, don't.
Then or now.
Oh yeah.
Did you think he was gonna be the kind of player, complimentary player, very successful player in the NBA, clutch player, and now coach? Remarkable.
He can shoot. That was the bottom line. He was shoot. He can shoot. He was a guy that wasn't that fast, but he was smart. You always say when you take your tools and you make them work for the best, and that's what Steve did. I've seen Steve trying to guard Steve was the toughest thing ever because he went slow, but then he had this quick burst of something that came out. It's almost like he had a burst of speed. He couldn't elongate it.
Right.
But he had that quick, at times he almost lull you to sleep, but he was the smartest guy that I've seen. And I'm watching Steph Curry and Clay. I'm like, they had to listen to what Steve was saying, is getting open, coming off the screens, playing the ball, playing the screen. He was the best at it. You think you'll have him, he'll come and he'll run you in. He was good at running you in, your defender,
right,
running you into the screen for him to get open. And all he needed was that much to get open, and it was up in the air.
It was over.
Yeah. And then as a coach, Steve was a coach on the floor. So, it was, I am not surprised at all. I am not surprised that Steve is a coach and successful he is because, again, he was a coach on the floor with us. So, again, he he was meant to be after he was done playing a coach, bottom line.
Do you think that he has helped Steph take his game to even another level? Because I'll be honest with you, like you, I've been watching basketball a long time, and as a professional skills trainer, I teach a lot of the things that Steph does, the creativity and the body language and the holistic approach towards basketball, not just the skill part. But he did something this year before Clay came back that I didn't know that, Steph really wanted to take his game to a whole nother level transformationally. And did this year surprise you, even though Steph's the greatest shooter of all time?
I mean, nothing surprised you. I mean, because again, I've been a professional, so you can't be surprised about anything a professional athlete does. So I mean, Steph is just Steph. He's gonna do what he's doing. And again, like Steve, the guys can shoot. When you guys can, when guys like that can shoot, there's always a way. I mean, they're always going to find that way to get open, to get that shot off. And again, you know what? Like Reggie Miller, Miller already said, you keep shooting, you don't stop. Yep. He said his gun is always loaded. Chef, that's what Reggie always said. Like, you got blank. He's like, nope, I'm gonna find a way.
Absolutely. But I want to ask your opinion about Major League Baseball, its leadership. Ken Griffey Jr. obviously is in the league office, trying to do some things. From when you played till now, did baseball lack leadership in a way that allowed them to be forward thinking like the other professional leagues, and that's why they're so far behind now?
This is a tough question. I think baseball doesn't like.
Well, they want to be really conservative in their evolution, because it seems like they're more reactionary versus, being out in the forefront to being cutting edge.
This is Black History Month. I think baseball don't like people telling them what to do. That's the best way. Yeah, telling them what to do. And I think that's the reason why the evolution of baseball hasn't turned the page, because when they use the word America's pastime, that word doesn't really fit well with me as much, because the America's pastime, there was no Jackie Robinson. So, or
the Negro League players,
I'm saying, there wasn't. So when they use the pastime, I get uncomfortable hearing that word, America's pastime, because they don't include, pastime has to include everyone. I think it starts around the Jackie Robinson era, where he was able to be a part of the pastime sports of Major League Baseball. But before then, it touches me a little bit when they use that, and because I'm like, that's not who we are as a country. We should have, it should have been further back then, but it wasn't. But again, it starts, when Jackie Robinson came into the league. So yeah, but they just have to take people's opinions, take people's mindset, and listen, and don't just brush some people off like they do.
They do a lot. And it's not just Major League Baseball, it's the NFL, which is a huge problem themselves, not just because of the lawsuit. Hugh Jackson was on this show, and he talked about it, and we've had others, come on our show and talk about it. Is it just simply not only listening and learning the white people to different people that don't look like them? Is it more than that? They just got to get people at the table. I mean, I don't know. Like I talk about this all the time, and it's easy for me because I grew up in Detroit. I've been a part of integration my whole life. So for me, I'm trying to put myself in someone else's shoes who's a racist, or because you have to. If you don't put yourself in someone's shoes who's a racist, then you can't really understand why they won't budge and why they won't understand that it's counterintuitive to not have everyone with the seat at the table. Because why would you not want so many different perspectives to help make your product a better version of what it is? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, you don't need another product. You have your product itself. It is what it is. I think the reason why I'm not in the game right now, because I think I'm too opinionated. I think I speak my mind too much, and I don't think teams really like that, So, I mean, I tell it like it is. I've been that way forever, but some people just don't want to hear that. And Major League Baseball is ones who don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I know,
they say they listen, but they don't.
No, but look, Kenny, Kendrick Perkins said this morning, I've been talking about this. I don't know why people come on my show, to be honest with you, because I don't move the numbers necessarily, but maybe eventually people will listen to this show in 10 years and they'll be like, this guy was talking about this stuff a long time ago. We should have listened to this guy. I don't know. I don't care. I don't make a dime off the show. I bring people on because even if 5 white people listen to the show and they get educated about this, then I feel like, it's doing something. And so, I don't know how we get people to be anti-racist, which means being conscious and deliberate on a daily basis to create more equitable opportunities for people of color, mainly what I talk about, but there are other minorities as well, people of color who are women, Latino and Latina communities. There are others, but namely the Black and brown community. The only thing that I've seen different since the murder of George Floyd is not only is there more white allies, but there's been a different set of rules in terms of strength and numbers and speaking out, where you're not ostracized or punished in a way that you would have been before, like Colin or countless others, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, who is probably going to be on the show at some point, because they fought for social injustice and more equality. And so, like you being on here, it keeps the conversation going. And that I don't know what else that, we can do. And that's also why I've been so critical of Tom Brady. And I want to be clear on this to everyone that listens. It's not just Tom Brady. It is Peyton Manning. It is Aaron Rodgers. It is Eli Manning. It is Ben Roethlisberger. It is the most powerful white owners. And Jerry Jones actually said something the other day, which I could not believe. But it has to be on a daily basis. It has to be all the time. And then there has to be something that's actually something done about it instead of just talking about it. Because otherwise, when you have great games in Major League Baseball, like last year's World Series, or you have great NFL games or great games in the NBA, people are going to continue to forget about it. And until the sponsors, until television, until social media, and until lawsuits put pressure on these white people, you're right. There's not many things that are going to change. And you should be outspoken in a way now that all the people that came before you who were outspoken, and including you, should continue to be outspoken no matter what the consequences. And so, I know I always talk about Tom Brady, but I cannot stand him or anybody else who's in that white space who doesn't use their platform. They don't have to. Let me be clear. They do not have to do one thing, but they absolutely 100% should. Not when they're forced to, but just because they want to be on the right side of history and they want to be a public ally. Now, sorry for the diatribe, but it is such a passion. And I don't want to act self-righteous, because someone called me self-righteous the other day, and I'm like, what do you want? You want an ally, but I'm speaking out about it, and I'm calling Tom for his thousands of videos that he puts out on Gronk and the Super Bowl trophy being tossed in a boat. And the first day of Black History Month is the day he announces his retirement. Like, you couldn't have chosen a different day. Like the first day of Black History Month, that's the day you choose. Like, really, and then we have Brian Flores coming out with his accusations, and, Hugh Jackson. Where's Tom now? Where's Aaron Rodgers now? Where are the white baseball players now? I haven't heard anybody except Black people saying, yeah, I got his back. Where are the white people that have influence? I don't have any influence. Just because I wear a Jackie Robinson hat and a Jackie Robinson t-shirt, like, I'm not an influencer. Like, I'm sure Rex Chapman has said something. I'm sure JJ Redick has said something, but where are the NFL quarterbacks? They're the most influential people. They haven't said shit. It's ridiculous. But we'll get outraged about all these other things. Like, man, come on.
I mean, you can rant. I mean, I understand. Again,
where are the white people?
Again,
where's the outrage?
Because again, the bottom line is once they get done playing baseball, playing whatever sport they're in, they're back into the real world. So they're going to keep their mouth closed because they're going to be back in the real world soon. So,
but let's buy Tom Brady clothing. Let's buy his brand.
That's what people do. Again, There's nothing, we can talk about this till we're blue in the face, but then who's on top? The leaders are the ones who are in control. So I look at it as you can only control what you can control. You can say what you want to say, but the bottom line is who is in control.
But we know white people are in power and they don't have to do anything, but I just think they should. Ugh.
Who's in control?
So we just had David Ortiz voted into the Hall of Fame. Yeah, a lot of others not. You're, hopefully going to be in the Hall of Fame one day, somehow, some way. I'm not going to put you on the spot necessarily, but I just want to ask you, give you an opportunity because Bob Nightingale came on the show. And so that was a whole nother fascinating story. Just like you, I had no idea that your grandmother was blind, and rest in peace. And I had no idea after 20 minutes of the podcast with Bob Nightingale, as white as I am, is married to a black woman and has black kids. And so, it just blew me out of the water because it gave me a whole different perspective about a guy that has so much hate thrown at him and so much vitriol, and no one even knows his story. And that's the whole point, right? Like, you don't know people's stories, and you can if you don't sit down at the table with them and have a conversation with people that don't look like you. And so he said something that his line of demarcation is very clear. Before 2006, when there was no rule in Major League Baseball, if you did something, there was no rule. And after that, he doesn't vote for anyone that cheated after that. And so I don't know if you want to comment, just in terms of baseball as a whole, because I think it's impacted the game of baseball still. It's a game of numbers. People still care about the Hall of Fame, and so whether it's Pete Rose or the steroid era, do you have an opinion on it, or you want to move on?
Again, I can't really comment on what. All I can comment on is on me. I played game in the 90s, and I hate when they use the word, it was that time. Everyone was not. I mean, and for me, seeing the different body types, seeing the guys different from year to year, you see it. So do you say something? No, because, until you have the hard-on proof, that's what's going on. I just played my game knowing I had to step my game up an extra level, knowing I'm playing against guys who are enhancing themselves. So it's almost like, I saw the article that Doug Glanville wrote about.
Amazing article.
Yeah, it was a good article. And I see it from his perspective as him not being a everyday starter and trying to get playing time. I felt the same way with my playing time got cut short toward my latter part of my career, because I knew some guys who were, all of a sudden, they become better players all of a sudden. And it started taking time away from me. And then when you go in a negotiation, people use their numbers up against you to try to get you paid, and I couldn't, it's like the money I was making started to drop even lower because the people who wasn't playing the game the right way, numbers skyrocketed so high, and it just kept me at a down, at a certain, level economically and game wise. I had to compete against that. So I had to do, and I feel for me playing in the 90s, knowing 90s and part of the 2000s, knowing what I had to compete against and be on that playing field, I felt I did a pretty good job, not to my own horn, but I felt I did a pretty good job competing against guys that I knew that something was going on. And I still pretty much did what I had to do and stayed on my level of playing my game the right way and competing at a high level against that. So I felt good about my game. It's like, it's like you're Donald Duck and you're playing against Superman. But I hung neck and neck the whole time doing all that stuff was going on. I hung neck and neck with them guys. But again, the only thing that didn't put me at a better level was money wise. I just couldn't make the money because my numbers didn't stack up to the ones who were making all the money and hitting all the home runs. And
you could argue that you were impacting the game more than those guys between triples and stolen bases. I mean, if you look at the history of triples in Major League Baseball, most of those guys are pre-1980. And, you're really in the top 10 when it comes to triples, for people that played in the modern era. Basically career 300 hitter, changed the game in terms of the way the managers had to manage and the way the pitchers had to, take into consideration when you were on base. I mean, you impacted the game arguably as much as any, 5-tool player that's ever played the game.
But to them and to the writers and the people, that's not pretty to them. What's pretty to them is home runs,
right?
Strikeouts. They don't care about the guy getting on base, creating havoc for the pitcher. And I felt like, I say this sometimes, if I would have been more of a selfish player, I think my numbers would have been way much better than what they were. Yeah. But I was trying not to be selfish. I was a team player. So if I'm getting downgraded for my ability, what I did on the field for being a team player, so be it. I felt like I could have tried to swing at the first pitch, swing at the first thing all the time. I took pitches. I tried to, work the count to help my team. I could have done with some guy. I know some guys swung at the first pitch, first fastball was a strike. They swung. That's not something I did. I tried to be a team player, but now looking back, you say in your head, should I try to be more selfish? Should I try to be a me guy? Yeah. Always say, is there I in team? No, but if I do my job, it's going to help the team. So yes, there is an I in team. If I do my job, it helps the team. But if I was thinking more of just I myself, I would have hit 300. I would have hit more home runs. I would have stole way more stolen bases. I would have did all that. I would have hit 300, even though I'm 299. I would have hit 3 something because I would have been swinging at the first pitch.
Well, yeah, of course you're trying to, you're trying to move runners. You're playing small ball.
But that's not the game. That's not pretty to people.
Right.
When they look at the Hall of Fame, first thing they say is, if you get 3,000 hits, if you get 500 home runs,
right.
What about the other parts of the game? But I feel like people don't look at that. They don't care about it because it's not pretty.
And your longevity.
Yeah. So
amazing.
Again, I don't know what their characteristic they always say, but they have a status with home runs. Yeah. What about some other categories that they can say will make you in hot? They say you get 3,000 strikeouts, you get 500 home runs. So why are those the only 2 categories in the game that makes you a Hall of Famer? I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it. But again, that's not, again, I can't say nothing. I can only know what I did in the game, what numbers I put up compared to a whole lot of people in the game. I just did what I did. And I did it to the best of my ability. And I knew my role. I knew I was a leadoff hitter. I knew my job. But if I know my job was not going to put me in the elite status, maybe I should have did something else. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you did it the right way, not only in terms of playing the game the way you did, but, not cheating the game, which is bigger than all the players because the game will be here when everyone's gone. And I can tell you that I was cussing at the television many a times as a Tiger fan when Kenny Lofton was in the lineup. God bless America. Oh man, God. Oh, I remember those days like it was yesterday. Okay, let's get to the rapid fire. We'll talk about some other things in the rapid fire, maybe that you want to touch on that maybe we didn't talk about, because we could keep going. It's been a fascinating conversation.
Thank you.
Well, we just sort of answered this question, but should there be more small ball in baseball these days, like bunting?
Without a doubt, that what makes the game exciting.
So frustrating. Like a suicide squeeze. Like, what's more exciting than a suicide squeeze when you see the runner starting down the base path from third base and the crowd starts to stand up and you're like, and then the anticipation's killing you, right? There's drama, right? Is he going to make contact? Is he going to put it down the first base side, the third base side? Is he going to beat it out for a hit on top of it? Like, literally, that's not as exciting as a home run? Shit, how many suicide squeezes do we see these days?
I mean, it's sad. I'm speechless. I'm speechless on the game right now.
It's so frustrating, and that's why it's mind blowing. There's contracts that are $500 million, but yet there's less fan interest. Like, how is that happening? Have you talked to Ken Griffey?
Yeah, when I talked to him, we probably had a conversation probably about a month ago. He was doing some exciting things. So we talked, and he said, yeah, I'm gonna be not say off the grid, but he
Yeah.
he got a whole lot of stuff going on. So he said, I'll get back with you when I get all this stuff going on, and I start hearing on the news and stuff that he was doing. So I can see why.
Are the owners gonna give in to this impasse that they're at right now?
I don't know. I was with it in 94, and it was very with 94, 95, and just seeing how the process works. It's for the players, it needs to be done. I mean, that's the bottom line. It needs to be done.
Absolutely. Isaiah Thomas from the Detroit Pistons or Dwayne Wade?
Wow.
And you know why I chose Dwayne Wade, because he's sort of in your vicinity, where you grew up, but yeah.
Wow. I gotta say Zeke. How I grew up. Yeah, I gotta say Zeke.
Yeah. Zeke or Steph?
I gotta give Steph his due.
Did this year really push him over the edge?
No.
No, it was before that. Yeah.
Before that.
MJ or LeBron?
Why are you going there? Wow. I gotta say MJ.
Yeah. And so if LeBron gets another ring or two, would that change anything, or is that not the issue?
No, MJ was, man, just knowing so I'll say, okay, let me explain why. The time and the era MJ played in, unbelievable. I don't know if there were a boxing match. There was a boxing match on the court every day. These guys in this era today wouldn't be in a boxing match. For MJ to do what he did on the court in a boxing ring, you know what I mean?
Yeah, basically.
You
can't duplicate it.
No, you can't duplicate that.
Yeah,
you can't.
I agree. Kobe or Larry?
Man, you killing me right now. Oh, this is probably one of the toughest ones right here.
Rest in peace.
I gotta give Kobe the nod. It's hard, but yeah. I mean, I want to balance that out. If I can do it equal, I'll do it equal.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Should baseball have instant replay for like the strike zone, like tennis does with their lines? Because it takes 2 seconds, and then the crowd's excited, right? In tennis.
Yeah, it's hard because it they say the game it's already takes a long time anyway, so that will slow the game up.
But wouldn't fans be excited about it if you had you could do 5 a game or something?
It's still gonna slow the game up. No, I don't think it's gonna slow it down. They're trying to find ways to speed it up that will keep slowing the game down.
Gotcha. All right, fair enough. Should we raise the pitcher's mound up?
No.
Kobe or KD?
Kobe.
Yeah. What was your favorite pitch to hit?
Fastball away.
Yeah. What was your second favorite pitch?
Fastball in. The young player, everyone wants to pull the ball always.
That's true. They always want to pull the ball, yeah.
So the reason why to let the ball travel is the hardest thing to do.
Interesting.
Because guys think they're going to miss it and they want to catch it before it gets, I can talk hitting all day long, understanding, and I letting the ball travel is the hardest thing. That's why they put the shift on to guys, because it's easier to catch the ball out front than it is to let it travel. If it was easy to let travel, they'll have that so-called switch thing the opposite direction.
So for those of you that don't understand what he means by letting the ball travel further, it basically just means waiting a split second longer before you hit the ball. And that allows you to hit it to the other side of the field, as opposed to if you hit the ball and make contact early, you're probably going to pull the ball, which means if you're a left-handed hitter, you're going to hit it down the first baseline. If you're a right-handed hitter, you're going to hit it down the third baseline. Besides yourself, your favorite lefty, Rod Carew, Wade Boggs, or Tony Gwynn?
Rod Carew.
Yeah, Rod Carew. Wow.
So yeah, Rod Carew.
Oh, over Tony?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because again, Rod Carew, I played, it's the game, all that, so it's not nothing against Tony at all, but it's Rod Carew and the speed, the bunnying, the things he did. It was, it emulated my game. So that's the reason why I threw Rod over that, because it emulated my game and I respected how he played the game.
God, I loved watching him.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by him when I would go to Tiger Stadium and watch him on television. Wow. Oh, man. Who's the toughest pitcher you ever faced?
Al Leiter.
Wow. Lefty.
He threw a 94-mile-hour cutter and a 94-mile-hour thinker. So I didn't know which one is going to, if I'm going to lean here or lean back there. Like,
Wow.
but actually, I didn't hit bad against them, but my focus and my energy just went like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Dwight Gooden or Greg Maddux?
Greg Maddux.
Boy, he could paint the black.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
yeah. Maddux. Yeah.
got a lot of calls, but
Yeah.
he could still paint the
Okay.
black.
So if it wasn't the calls as much, I will say, Doc Gooden had a period of time where he was dominant.
Oh,
Greg Maddux did it, sustained it forever. He was, he can pitch that he's 52, sitting on his, get up and just start throwing that ball. So yeah.
that and golf.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a good golfer. You love golf too.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. What's your index right now? What's your handicap?
5.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't get lower. I'm just stuck. But yeah.
It's all up here.
Yeah.
Right. Golf is all up here. Keep telling yourself that, Hoot.
Yeah.
Roger or Pedro?
Pedro.
Another one.
Wait, I owned him, but Pedro was good.
Yeah, he was really.
I own Pedro.
Pedro or Greg?
Pedro, still.
Yeah, he's amazing. Verlander or Scherzer?
I never faced either one of them, so
no, I know, but I'm just saying, like, your opinion about them as pitchers.
They're about equal to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What pitcher impressed you the most when they adjusted their style to prolong their?
Tough question.
A couple of guys went from starting pitching to the pen.
Smoltz.
Yeah.
John Smoltz.
Yeah, Smoltz definitely.
Yeah.
Vin Scully or Bob Costas?
Vin.
Yeah. Favorite park to play in of all time?
All time's favorite, probably. Well, I would say Wrigley Field because it's sentimental to me, but overall Yankee Stadium because of the history behind it.
Yeah, I've been there. I also went to a game at the old Cleveland football stadium that had like 9 million seats in it. And then, there was a time when Cleveland wasn't great back then, and there was only like 3,000 people that would show up. It was the most eerie thing I've ever been. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah.
It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry Bonds, Willie Mays, or Babe Ruth?
Willie Mays.
All right. Shaq, Chuck, Ernie, or Kenny on Inside the NBA?
Chuck.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Eddie Murphy.
You just said what the heck he say. It makes sense sometimes. He makes sense sometimes. But you just like to hear him.
He doesn't even know half the stuff he's talking about.
Yeah, Chuck, for sure.
Yeah, Chuck. Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor?
Well, people don't really know Richard Pryor, but I'll say.
Well, you did though.
I mean, yeah, I'm in my era, but I'll say I'll jump off the corner. I'll say Red Fox.
Oh yes. Well,
I was
gonna say All in the Family or Sanford and Son.
Oh, Sanford and Son, without a doubt. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth. Dave Chappelle, Mike Hart, or Chris Rock?
They're all different. Yeah. I mean, they're all different in their times. So you got to give them credit for all their times.
Absolutely.
One here, one there.
Yeah, they're all different.
They're all different. That's the only reason why I can't answer that, because they're all different in how they go about it.
What are your thoughts about Cleveland's new name, the Guardians?
No comment.
Oh, shit. What would you have liked to seen it be?
Indians. It shouldn't have changed. It shouldn't have changed at all. It was no reason for them to change that name at all. There
was no pushback from the indigenous people and Native Americans?
No, it wasn't about that. Come on. The word Indian, if you're from India and a group of people, what do they call you guys?
Right, Indians.
They call them Indians. So is that derogatory?
But I don't know. Honestly, I don't know the history of the name of the Cleveland Indians. So I don't know if that's why it came about. Because it has a Native American,
Okay, so what does that mean? The Braves have a Tomahawk chalk and they hollering the World Series, they're hollering, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Right. Well, no,
I mean, that's more derogatory than anything.
Absolutely. Or Florida State or, anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. But, did they change those names? No, they didn't.
So if you had conversations with indigenous or Native Americans to ask them if it's because I've heard both.
I've talked to a couple of people about it, and it's not as much as people make it seem out to be. There's something else behind this, but I don't know. And I'm not privy to the information, but there's something more than just changing this name, because there are other teams that have names that haven't been changed.
Right.
So it's something to it that they're not saying. It's always something behind the story, but that people don't talk about. That's That is the biggest thing.
Wow, I didn't expect that answer. Okay, so if you could have any 5 people at your dinner table, past or present, dead or alive, but it has to be people that you don't know, who would be at your dinner table?
Barack Obama,
Mm.
Muhammad Ali. Well, I met him, so I can't say
Well,
that I say
I mean,
that you didn't know.
if you
I
met
was thinking
somebody one
about,
time, it's sort of
yeah,
different.
I mean, I've talked to him a couple, at that time. It was, I'll
Wow.
say Jackie Robinson,
Mm.
Barack Obama. Wow, you get me.
Who's the first woman that would be at your table? First queen? How about Michelle?
I mean, if you get Barack, you get Michelle because she's gonna be tagging along. So, so, yeah, she'll be right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rosa Parks.
Any white people at the table?
Let me think. Elon Musk.
Wow, that would be
'Cause
interesting.
it's just the creativity that guy's just. It's hard to say. Some people think certain thing he does controversy or whatever, but that's, I mean, everyone has some type of controversy behind them.
Yeah,
But just the creativity that goes on with Elon Musk is
interesting.
fascinating. Yeah,
It
it is
is.
interesting.
I mean, he is from South Africa, and he was there at a time when there was
Yeah,
apartheid and
apartheid.
stuff.
So
So
yeah.
there is that aspect of it as well. So
Um,
I know it's a tough question. Everyone says you should ask me that in the beginning so I can think about it during.
no, yeah. So they'll tell me to think about that toward the end of the interview. I always, you know what? I always was fascinated by Carlos Slim. He created the phone cards.
Oh yeah.
Amazing,
That is
amazing.
wow,
Carlos
man. That
Slim, yeah,
we've not had that answer before.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
awesome.
I just like people who are very creative in their thinking.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How they go about things. So, and then you got Martin Luther King. So that's my 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the way you think. It's just, and how they can be outspoken and how they go about things and how they do it. It's just that's kind of what I like. I like people who be very creative in their thinking and how they go about things.
Do you think we're going in the right direction as a country? I mean, there's more opportunities for the Black and brown community in a lot of ways, right? But there's still inequality in education and
Well,
healthcare and in the jails and in a lot of other spaces.
well, I think that people feel that we're going in the right direction, but for us to have so much pushback, especially the voting rights, I mean, that's what's mind-boggling to me, to where you have the John Lewis Act that they just can't push through.
Unreal.
And for that reason, that is showing me, when you think change, the song is, you think change is coming. No, it's halted right now, because that was a perfect opportunity for us as people to keep the conversation going with equality, for them to feel like the voting rights is something that it's an issue right now. Our country is in trouble. It's in trouble right now.
Well, people came out of their rat holes because of the 45th president. And so now it takes time to unravel all that, because now they're not afraid to speak out and about being on the wrong side of history. It's you think you're making progress in a lot of ways, and then it's so frustrating. You feel like you're taking a step back. But the conversation is continuing. We'll do everything we can, and there are differences now in terms of strength and numbers, and that's all we can do. Put pressure on people with social media, with lawsuits, with sponsorships. There's a lot more choices now where you spend your dollar. And so, the black dollar is powerful, and we need to push that and support local politicians and state politicians that are actually going to do things for minorities, in particular marginalized communities. And, and don't think that one voice or one T-shirt or one wristband doesn't matter, because it does. All right. Anything else, man? It's been amazing to chop it up with you. In 5 years, I'm sure you're going to be in this NFT space. But anything else? Any books in the plans? Anything else that you're looking at?
No. I mean, I have a lot to say. I have a lot, but again, you have to, do that during the right time. It's all about timing. About everything you do, timing is big. Timing is the key. And I think when the time comes, I could do that, because again, I played for a lot of teams. I
Yeah.
was teammate with a lot of players. So, and a lot of
A lot of
players
racist players and a lot of
well,
allies. I'm sure that it's just like society. I'm sure it was, especially in a white sport like baseball. It's not, let's call it what it is.
but again, I give baseball credit. I mean, it put me to where I am today playing baseball, and I had the opportunity, and I'm gracious for the opportunity myself. I mean, because of Jackie Robinson, Larry Doby, and and Satcho, those guys coming up, and Don Newcomb,
Yeah,
is the guy as well. So those guys paved the way gave me an opportunity to be able to to be on the field, and with Curt Flood as well.
yeah.
So it's just the opportunity that we have to give those guys their credit, give those their due, because they paved the way for a lot of us to be able to be in the game today.
Yes, it's frustrating because I was the kid that had the radio under his pillow and had to change the battery in the morning because I forgot to shut it off, and I did that every night. And now MMA is more popular than baseball, and it's just it's sad. Whether you call it America's pastime or whatever, baseball should be one of the top watched sports, and people should be into it. And whether it's too slow or whatever the reasons are, hopefully we increase the representation.
Yes.
And the stories are told that you want to tell that you didn't necessarily tell today, but that people understand the real history, whether it's in sport or in society, so that people know that the stuff still existed and it wasn't someone pulling the race card or get over it or that kind of thing. So, all right. Thanks for the time, man. Much love and much respect. And thanks for everything you did for the game and for representation and what you're doing now. Just amazing stuff, man. I could talk about it for hours. I love it.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon. Take care. All right. Kenny Lofton, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out, man. Fascinating conversations about multitude of different things with him. And one day we'll hear some of the stories that he's talking about that he wasn't going to necessarily share on our show, but that he will at some point talk about it. Maybe after, he's voted into the Hall of Fame and he's recognized for the contributions to the game that he made, along with guys like Fred McGriff, and others that he just talked about. It is sad in a lot of ways, the way that baseball has gone, and I guess just like society, we evolve and we have different interests and go in different directions. But I'm so grateful that I had baseball as a part of my upbringing with my friends. It's a reason why I have so many amazing friendships and so many great memories. I threw a no-hitter when I was younger, and I batted 381 my senior year. But more importantly than that, it just brought us all together. My youth coach, Richard Maltz, rests in peace. Steve Clairfelt, Jeff Feig. I always talk about my youth coaches, Mr. Emmanuel, and others. Ralph Davis was, part of that. Rest in peace. And there were others. And coaches impact us profoundly, not only when we're kids, but growing up. So shout out to all the coaches out there that have been coaching for so long, and the impact that you make in young people's lives, as well as in, young adults and adults' lives. And just remember, you never know what you say on a daily basis or your actions and how they impact people. People come back now and tell me they remember things that I didn't even remember saying or doing that impacted them. And so just, understand that your impact on young minds and adults can stay with them a lifetime. All right, everybody. Thanks for sharing space with us today. We truly hoped you enjoyed that amazing interview. Remember, everyone, Black Lives Matter. Stop the bullying. Contact your local and state politicians for any inequalities, for any individual or any group that's being marginalized. Also, everyone, we want to raise awareness for those individuals that are currently imprisoned for non-violent offenses, in particular those with long-term sentences that are disproportionate, in particular to those people in the Black and brown community. And I want to send a shout out to 40 Tons 40tons.co. 40 Tons is a socially conscious cannabis brand, and they're a social enterprise using the regulated cannabis industry to fight injustice, in particular for cannabis prisoners. So check them out again at 40, the number 4, the number 0, tons, plural, 40tons.co, because what they're doing in the cannabis space and being a socially conscious company is truly incredible, and they have my full support. And also wanted to remind all of you, if you're having a tough time, you can always call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that number is 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, and they are available 24/7, 365 days a year. You can also always check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok at Mike Hootner. Thanks again to our amazing sponsors, Breaking Tea, Sport RX, PSK Collective, City Lokes, and Moolah Kicks, which you can see right here up on the screen. You can search them online at breakingtea.com, sportrx.com, pskcollective.com, moolahkicks.com, and citylokes.com. And if you'd like to support us at the Sports Deli, we'd love to have you either make a one-time donation or feel free to make a donation monthly, either 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. If you have questions about that, send me an email again to thesportsdeli@gmail.com, and I will send you the link on how you can do that. You can also find it at the bottom of every podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Link at the bottom to support the show. Please check out our website at thesportsdelipodcast.com. Make sure that we continue the conversations with regards to 3 strikes and you're out and mandatory minimums, especially people that are in jail for non-violent offenses. So those things need to change. Until next time, remember it takes a village. For Dr. J and Coach K, I'm Hootie Hoot. This has been a production of Hootie Hoot Productions. Thank you for joining us in the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table. Remember, it takes a village. Much love, everybody.